Here's a thought. What if Sally was a mermaid? And now let's get to it. Crumble you up a nice wad of aluminum foil for the rock. And I went ahead and pre-made the armature out of some aluminum wire. And we're going to slap some Sculpting Ultralight and go ahead and shape out that body shape. And I used an overly excessive amount of Sculpting Ultralight for the tail, but I just really wanted that tail to be perfect. And so I did. She is looking pretty cool at this point. And yes, Sally is a little thick in there. Go ahead and break out some Super Sculpting Original and go ahead and start covering the entire surface with it. And a little wormy dilly right there for the neck. And this really odd shaped thingy, well, basically it's her abs if you haven't seen it already. And just using my sausage fingers to blend those in because they are my favorite blending tool. And just take some big balls of clay and go ahead and bulking out the chest and smoothing them in with my thumbs. And go ahead and use any kind of tools you see fit. Like I'm using this beat up rubber shaper that I just kind of shoved a pencil in because it kept breaking on me and I was just desperate at this point. And using an explorer tool to really mark in those lines. Where Sally, she is a train wreck if you really think about it. All bits and pieces sewn together and junk. And just using some little itty bitty pieces of clay to create those stitches. And making some really cool looking, tasteful, stylized skulls and covering up her chesty bits. Because this is an age appropriate channel. And that's looking pretty good so far. Now I'm taking this big hunk of junk right here and covering it with some overly tough clay. You ever just break open a pack of Sculpting and it's just hard as a rock? And I literally just had to beat the piss out of it with a rolling pin to even remotely condition it. And I was like, why not just waste this stuff on this rock? And just using a piece of aluminum foil for the texture, and I used some cos clay to rope these two little fellas into place. And taking some better Sculpting and covering the tail. Now mind you, I did the entire surface with some liquid clay adhesive to create a better bond. And using a wormy dilly right here to make that trunk sag over the rock. And this cut up piece of mesh or screen, like you could just like rip apart a screen door and hey, this piece of trash makes for a great texture tool, so why not? So that's what I did. No, it's not really what I did, but it could happen. And taking a piece of cloth K here, and we are just cutting out the shape of the tail fins or flappy dills. And just putting them into place. I textured them with the Explorer tool prior to gluing them onto here, using some liquid clay adhesive or some bacon bond, if you will. And this little piece right here that's kind of, you know, finned out or whatever, but it separates the body from the fishy bits, or whatever you call it, mermaid tail, for lack of better words. And then using the Explorer tool to really chisel in and draw in those fabric pieces. I was using a picture of Sally in the background there as a reference because I really wanted to really get at that actual aesthetic of Sally's dress into her mermaid tail. Yeah, a little bit of artistic liberties were placed into here, but overall, I was trying to be as accurate as possible to the overall design. And just continuously doing this over and over and over again. A bunch of these little rectangle bits for stitches. Rinse, wash, and repeat, or however that saying goes. But we doing it. Hey, get your head out of the frame, guy. And that is looking, honestly, it's pretty awesome. Is very satisfied with how this was coming out. And taking a piece of clay, per usual, and rolling it out a little snake of clay and slicing it down the middle, but not all the way through, just about halfway through, and sliding it onto the armature wire. Instead of wire wrapping, you could use the liquid clay adhesive like I do. It works good, if not, in my opinion, a lot better, and saves a buttload of time. And I was trying to, like, as you can see with the chest and the neck, I was trying to be as screen accurate to where these stitches were, but there were a little bit of artistic liberties involved as well. Taking the head from straight up ultralight and smashing it on with some clay. I am using the Sculpey Living Doll for the faces. I've grown to absolutely love Living Doll when it comes to more detailed aspects of sculptures. Not necessarily for the whole thing, but for the faces, it's now my go-to. So this whole sculpture in itself was actually a challenge, personal challenge to myself. I've never sculpted a female before, unless you go way back when and see those really ridiculously looking Powerpuff Girls I did. Those, that's embarrassing. But this overall was the first actual female sculpture I have ever done. So I really pushed myself, and I think that's going to be my overall goal this year, is to really take myself to the next level as an artist and really dive into these areas that I need to break into and grow as an artist, not just as a content creator, but as an artist as well. So that's what we're doing. The same way with the past few videos was just a challenge, and I just want to get better. And if you guys leave me some comments below and tell me what I could do to be better, those will be greatly appreciated as well, because I'm pretty sure I screw up a lot. And that's okay. If you notice, for her eyes, I used some toothpicks, which I did a bad job trying to use cosplay, but I chose the latter. And for her hair is cosplay as well. And yeah, I pre-textured it, threw it on there, blah, blah, blah. And there it is. Yeah, don't let me bore you to death talking about hair. It is pre-textured with the Explorer tool, but it came out looking pretty good. She almost has like a bob haircut almost, if you see. And now that she's baked and completely cooled down, let's go ahead and paint this rock with some black, and then using a little bit of white, lighten that black up, of course, so it turned gray, obviously. And we are dry brushing the gray, and then dry brush again with a little bit of lighter color to really make those details really stand out. I was definitely at a crossroads. Do I want to put her on like something magical like the Little Mermaid would sit on? Or because Sally's dark and gloomy, so we're just going to put her on a rock? Or you could just say, Mr. JH, you're lazy. Yes. So now we're painting the tail, which the tail for me was a little bit tedious, a little bit stressful, a little bit fun, but honestly, overall, very satisfying at the same time. Even with all those aspects involved, I really enjoyed this process. It was just diving in and actually taking my time, because for me, I suck at patience and patience sucks at me. So let's fix that and become better. So that's what we did. So I've noticed over time, there's about 83% of you watching my videos that are not subscribed. So you just do me a solid, support your local artists or worldwide artists, and smash that subscribe button. And while you're here in that little bottom row down there below this video, please go ahead and smash that like button and let YouTube know that, hey, this guy's doing pretty decent. Let's give him a like. Let's push him on a little bit. Anyways, before I start blowing my own head up, let's continue painting the mermaid's tail, or Sally's tail, or her tail, with some beautiful teals, pinks, browns, and yellers. I dry brushed a little bit here and there on the tail, but I was so paranoid that I'd ruin everything and just constantly like repainting. Behind the scenes, yes, I did use a couple different brushes to narrow down in those little nooks and crannies, but overall, I did what I had to do. Now for the tail part, the little finny bits, I was a little on edge of what I want to do. Like, did I want to go black? Did I want to go white? Did I want to leave them gray or gloomy or whatever? But I chose, let's stick with the pattern. And yeah, actually, I'm really happy with how it turned out with the different colors here. I dry brushed them as well to bring out those little details that we put in with the Explorer tool. And taking some watered down browns, the same color brown we actually used to paint the brown, and just using a thinner brush. And obviously I didn't do the best job, but I was still very happy with it, because obviously Sally's not perfect, so why does everything else have to be perfect? Why not? And just drawing in all those lines and all them circles, and then on the pink we're going to be drawing in them little swirly bits. And I was actually very happy with this whole process. Despite how tedious and stressful it was, I really enjoyed it the whole time. Honestly, even with me trying to be patient, I still spent a few good hours on painting this tail. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. So if you like this tail, as we said earlier, smash this like button. And just taking black and just painting in all those little stitchy bits. Which you'll see that reoccurring theme through this whole painting process. So don't let me bore you to death with a little bunch of black paintings. Are you bored yet? Not me. As my head is in the way, we will continue to do the boring bits. And now, for the little scully bits, I wanted them to have that really nice Nightmare Before Christmas aesthetic. So they are solid black and then dry brushing a couple shades of gray and bringing out all those nice details. Still really going for that claymation or stop motion animation look. And just using this really pretty colored blue. I know probably in the movie she's a little bit more duller, but I didn't want the colors to clash too much, so I chose this blue, and I'm really happy with it. And yes, her head is off because it made life a lot easier when it came to painting the hair and her back, because I know me, I will screw it up, and I didn't want to screw it up, so I did this instead. And of course, redoing and repainting all the little blacky bits, boring you to death. Again, I apologize, but overall, the effect is fantastic. Now we're doing her face. Probably should have spent a little bit more time on the face, but I spent way too much time on the body. I need to start, let's go do the face first so we can actually zero in and actually take our time on it instead of feeling like we're doing a complete rush job at the end of the day. But honestly, she still turned out really, really cool. And just painting it there. And then just taking some white for the eyeballs. Look at you taking your time. Good job. Good job. Oh, you gonna do it again? Yeah, do it again. Okay, I'll shut up now. And put a little speckle in the middle for the iris. And some bright red paint for her lipstick. I chose the brighter red for the lips because the hair is going to be like a more darker color. So I didn't really want them two to clash too bad. So that, if you're wondering my reasoning. But yeah, that was the reasoning behind that. And there we are painting the hair. And with it being made out of cosplay, it made life a lot easier because I can move it out of the way. I can move the hair away from the face to really get under there so it doesn't look god awful when you're done painting it, like gaps of color completely missing because you were too scared to reach it. And then taking a little bit of lighter red and dry brushing over all those fine little details that we put in with our Explore tools. It's looking pretty good. Now I think after all that, screw it. Sally, you're done. And she's done. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And now, on to her glamour shots.